All right, and we are live. Welcome to another episode of the Inner Circle Podcast. Feels good to be back as always. Appreciate everybody stopping in. um, Make sure you give us a thumbs up. We greatly appreciate the support and the sharing. Um, should be a great E3, man. I'm really excited about what's happening over uh, at Microsoft and what they have going on at E3. Don't worry about the thumbs down, man. We get trolls, haters, whatever. It's not a big deal, man. We know who our true fans are, and those guys will definitely support us. But thank you. We appreciate it. Glad you guys see that. Hey, what's going on, Gaming Addict? Yeah, what can you do? I don't mind the thumbs down. It's not a big deal. At least they're here. Hopefully we get a good crowd in here tonight. We'll get a chance to talk about Xbox and what they got planned and what we think. B Money should be showing up sometime mid-show. He is on his way home from work. I do apologize to the MP3 crowd. If you are listening on YouTube right now, I haven't been able to get an opportunity to upload some of the backlogged episodes and get that up to date. So I do apologize on that. That is my fault for not being able to get to that, but I promise I will definitely step up and get to that as soon as possible to get that going again. Yeah, man. So listen, Microsoft, Sunday, 1 p.m. Pacific time. I'm really excited. Phil Spencer has been boasting. First of all, I've never seen Phil boast so much in the last couple of days. Until recently, since they've been doing this rehearsal. And the crazy thing about it is that I'm really excited for this E3 because I wasn't excited for last year's E3. So I let's get into this. Let's get the party started. People showing up, which is great. And yeah, man, let's talk Xbox. 1 second. Let's get this done. Let's get this started. Welcome to the Inner Circle Podcast, the premier podcast for Xbox One. I'm your host, KORXKLL, with B Money 101, who should be showing up shortly, and Anchorman V.
Hey, everybody, how you doing today?
And yeah, man, listen, we started a little bit late, man. I got into this Golden State game, Golden State Cavaliers game, and it's crazy, but it's out of hand at this point. So we're gonna talk Xbox and talk about these predictions that we think Microsoft was going to show up with. What games could they possibly have? What do you think is going to get pushed out of the lineup that we've been seeing the last couple of weeks? And what major surprises they could possibly have? It's been a crazy journey for Microsoft, man. They really need this E3 to be successful. And the reason why I say that is I think about 2016 show. And going into it, really, actually, kind of knowing a lot of things that had already been presented. Not really sure if those games were actually going to be in the show, but definitely wary that they wouldn't show anything new. And once the show started, and this is true, Anchorman can vouch for this. Anchorman and Brandon, they both really they praised the show. They were for the show because of the hardware and stuff like that. I was down on the show from the get. I was so down on the show from the get, especially after watching the PlayStation conference. I was down on the show. And the reason why I was down on the show was because the last 2 weeks of May of 2016, everything leaked. State of Decay or some crap. I don't know what State of Decay, but it was something. Some
State
game.
Decay 2, Dead Rising 4.
It was State of Decay 2. Yeah, like Dead Rising 4. Like all of these games had leaked. And I'm just sitting here saying to myself, man, I hope they have something to surprise, like something new that will wow us. And we got into that conference and I was excited, man. We went into it. Got a chance to see Record gameplay, and they presented the Xbox One S. Then they hit you with the bomb at the end with the Xbox Scorpio presentation. And honestly, those two things saved the show for me. But game-wise, I wasn't impressed. Dead Rising 4 was not a game that was going to knock the socks off of anybody's feet. You know what I'm saying? It just wasn't. It wasn't that game. And and I had to tip my hat off to Sony, because they came out. They had it's Days Gone, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they had Days Gone. They had a few
God
other
of War, Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, God of War, which looks,
Spider-Man.
which looked good. The Crash Bandicoot, yeah, Spider-Man. Spider-Man was like the height of that thing right there. That kind of blew me away as how realistic it looked. And I have to admit, I was salty. And I'm just saying to myself, man, these games look really impressive. And I was blown away by some of the games that they showed off. So yeah, man, listen, I was really impressed with it, but I wound up giving the conference to Xbox because Microsoft, with their hardware, that's all people talked about at E3. That's all we've seen from every website and every media outlet. All people talked about was Scorpio, and then Xbox One S release, and that thing just sold 4 months straight like hotcakes. So it was really impressive, man, what Microsoft did and the way they did it. But what they need from this show is something that's going to wow us, something that's going to really impress us. It could be one big game, it could be multiple games, but they definitely need to show potential. The key word for this show is potential, because what Microsoft has done with the potential that they had has kind of squandered it a bit. We've gotten some really good games over the last couple of years, but we haven't gotten that Halo, that Gears of War this generation so far. And it's not to say that it can't come later on in the generation, like The Last of Us or something like that, but we haven't gotten that generation the way Halo was for OG Xbox and Gears was for the Xbox 360. So we will see what they have up their sleeves, and so we're gonna start talking about what we think is going to be at this show, and I'm excited about it. So Anchor, let's begin. What do you think out of the games that they already presented? What won't be releasing this fall?
What won't be releasing this fall? What won't be releasing this fall? The only game I see that can maybe get delayed out of what we have announced might be Sea of Thieves. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure because I'm not in that in the beta group, so I have no idea how far along that game is. But based on everything I've seen in general impressions, and them keep putting out things about they're hiring, it is possible that it could go out beyond fall. But other than that, I mean, Crackdown is a do or die. That thing's got to launch this this year. Like
Right.
they kept delaying it, and kept pushing it back, and like this is a do or die moment right here. Crackdown has to come out this year. State of Decay 2 this year. They've already been very adamant about that. It's coming out this year. Beyond that, I don't think there's no Halo 6, no Gears 5. Really beyond that, I can't think of much else, really. At least something that comes to mind immediately.
I think Sea of Thieves is being delayed. Absolutely. There's no way Sea of Thieves makes it out this holiday season. I know a lot of people looking forward to it. I haven't got a chance to play the beta. Based on other people's impressions, based on what we know, this game's not releasing. Rare has been hiring people to work on this game. That game's not going to be ready in the next, what is this? You got June. This is June. So you got August, September. Like, what do you have? I mean, you have July and then August. What do you have left? What can you get done in 2 to 3 months? Because, Sea of Thieves is a like early fall type title. That's not the type of game you put out. And, you don't put that game out in November or October when the heavy hitters drop. You drop that game in August and September when it's kind of light.
Nah, this is a spring 2018 kind of game.
It
where you
really
come
is.
out
It's a
like right
spring
around
2018 game.
right around
Exactly.
May, right when it gets a little dry, and like you're like, hey, there's not a lot of multiplayer experiences going out there. Just about perfect. They can
Right.
really
It
capitalize on the
definitely
market.
exactly. And that's what they should be doing. Games that are brand new, games that are new IPs should not have to compete against major hitters, consistent games that are annual releases because it's very stiff competition. And a game like Sea of Thieves releasing this fall would have been devastating for that game. Absolutely devastating. You drop that game in March, it's a different animal. You drop that game February, different animal. Absolutely. So yeah, Sea of Thieves, no Sea of Thieves this fall. We will see Sea of Thieves in 2018. I just don't see it happening. I can't see how they can put this product out there and they listen. Rare cannot put themselves in a position where this is a build as you play type game. You can't do that. You can't be a build as you play as we're playing the game and not early access, but just they're adding things and updating the game as we're playing it. Like, it can't be that. It really can't. Rare has to come out with a full-fledged, ready to rock and roll game with a few expansions into it. And I truly hope it is the destiny of pirates, of like pirate games. I hope it's like that. And I don't mean in a way the way Destiny is, but you have, 6, 8 players on a team. You guys get on the boat, you travel the seas, you hunt for treasure, but there's story missions, there's enemies, there's NPC pirates. Like, it would be amazing if they were able to allow something like Blackbeard, oh my God, Blackbeard's in the high seas and you're trying to avoid Blackbeard and you get into a ship battle with Blackbeard and Blackbeard can actually take you out. And they have different, the different beard type pirates out there and the different historical pirates. And it doesn't have to be historical, but they have their own made up or creative NPCs. Plus you have to deal with regular people in the world as well, getting into multiple ship battles at a time. I think would be really great if they were able to pull something like that off. Now, that's my mind working. I can obviously going way beyond what they're trying to think. But in my opinion, that's what you want to do in order for this game to really kind of excel. You just can't base this game on what we've played and what we've seen, which is straight multiplayer. And we need to see more in the I won't say single player experience, but the co-op experience. The co-op experience is really important, and that's really going to make this game special. And if they can hit that nail, everything else is money. Everything else is money because it's kind of like an open world, open server type thing. You're playing the game, you're doing story missions, and suddenly a group of pirates comes out of nowhere and steals your treasure or interrupts your story while you're trying to do it with your team. It steals it. Would be great. Absolutely great. You're talking about random. It's almost like a wrestling match when some random wrestler comes down the aisle and whacks you in your back with a chair or something like that. I just think it would be really awesome if they were able to pull that off.
Mm-hmm. Because I don't know about like having an early spring release date. I think late spring, early summer is just about right, where you start getting that kind of audience in, where people are like, oh yeah, I want to do pirate stuff. Like, imagine if it came out like 2-3 weeks ago, where everyone's watching Pirates of the Caribbean, everyone's getting kind of excited all of a sudden, and it'll be a good time for it to come out. Kind of think about a game that's like completely different, but kind of capitalized in the same way as like Friday the 13th, where when that game came out, which warts and all that kind of stuff. But when that game came out, it really capitalized on this market. Like, hey, it's early summer. People watch Friday the 13th and scary movies over the summer. This is a good time for people to get in that mood to really enjoy it. And I think Pirates in particular is a great early summer activity game styling to go after.
I don't know, man. I truly hope. I really hope, and I know some fans might not agree, but I just truly feel that CFD should not release this fall. It shouldn't. It's just not one of those games. And it's not to say the game won't be good. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not knocking the game. I'm just looking at the history of what Microsoft has put out and how successful their new IPs have been in the fall. And with the consistent news of seeing Rare looking for people to hire to continue to work on this game. I mean, you're hiring right now. You have to get the person in the studio up to speed, familiar with whatever whatever you're using tech-wise to begin working on the game, and then actually get working on the game. And working on a game isn't something that you just do in a month or two. You know what I'm saying? It's a long process depending on what the technical issues are in the game or what you want to add to the game. So all I'm saying is I just don't want to see this game get out there and flop. That's what I don't want to see. Rare needs this game to be a success. And the best thing to do is to release it when there's nothing else to play, because then it can truly be focused on. Microsoft is already probably going to be stretching themselves thin. And what I mean by that is they're going to have their other titles out there. It's bad enough that a lot of us don't feel Microsoft does great when it comes to promoting and marketing some of their games. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to see Sea of Thieves fall by the wayside because they didn't put enough effort in the marketing aspect to it. This game really needs to have its own presence, and it won't have its own presence this fall. It'd be competing with way too many games. So I agree. Late spring, early spring, whatever it is you put it out, you make sure you put it out the second quarter of 2018. That's how I look at it.
Well, I mean, if it can come out this spring, or not spring, this fall, go for it. But still, like, it's all the signs that are coming out right now. It doesn't feel like it's coming. It just doesn't.
I just don't think it's a good idea to release it this fall. I just don't think it. I mean, if you bundle it with the console, then sure, because then you're selling the game with the console. But just outright releasing it, thinking about what else is releasing, Destiny is coming out. Star Wars Battlefront is coming out. You have Ubisoft Assassin's Creed more than likely will be releasing this holiday season. There's a lot of games that you have to compete with. And, I just don't know if you want to put it out around that time. I just really feel like it should be put out there by itself. Rare really needs this game to be a success. And the last thing they want to do is lose gamers to other games. People die off of Destiny after, a few months. If you get Destiny, let's say in, when is that, November? So you get Destiny in November, December, January, February.
September, really.
Or September, whatever. By the time March hits, you've either had people fade off of Destiny for a bit or taking a break, and the next big title comes out around March, April. And that's when you get in, when you fit in right there and stuff like that. And if people want to jump back into Destiny or people want to jump back into something else, they can from the holiday. And Microsoft needs to find a good space where they're releasing games in the spring year round. It's really important. They have to stop this trend of dropping 4 or 5, games in the fall. It really hurts their sales overall per game. I truly believe that. Yeah. So I mean, we'll see what happens, but I think that Sea of Thieves will be pushed. True, and I think it will be replaced with a big title. I just think it'll be pushed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the game that I think won't make it. Now, here's what I know. What I know is you have Crackdown coming out. We probably will more than likely see Ori 2, Ori and the Will-O-Wisp. That's why they dropped the definitive edition recently and gave it to us for free. If you have Ori and the Blind Forest right now, you should also have the definitive edition for free. They recently gave it to everybody who had the original game. So if you bought the original Ori, you now officially have the definitive edition for free, which is just awesome. And they did that. That was smooth because I remember looking at my install like, what is this? Why do I have definitive? I didn't pick it up yet. It had no achievements. And I realized I had the achievements for the old game and none of the achievements for the new game. Did you play Ori, Ake?
Yeah, of course I played it. What kind of Xbot would I be if I didn't play Ori and the Blind Forest?
Ori was awesome. I love that game. I have to find time to play the definitive edition and see what the difference is. I think Microsoft should invest more in. even as a mascot, I just love the character. You know, he's all white. He reminds me of a cuter version of Stitch from Lilo and Stitch, just without all the extra arms. You know, but he has the big dark eyes, and he's like cuddly or whatever, but he's badass. You know, he's agile, he's quick, he's got freaking projectiles coming from his little will wisp thing, whatever it is and stuff. It looks pretty dope, man. I love Ori, so I really hope that Ori is it shows up this fall and it becomes a game that may release this fall. We get a big surprise. That'd be big because a lot of fans bought Ori and a lot of fans love Ori. They should definitely invest in Ori and make that a much bigger franchise than it already is. So you have Ori. Why?
I mean,
why?
Well, here's the thing. Ori's a platformer and it's 2D side scroller. I mean, even though it's a damn good one, it just, I don't know. It's kind of like State of Decay. Like, there's only so far you can go with that. There's only a certain level of quality you can really get out of it, though. And like, yeah, it'll do well critically, and it might even do well in sales, but it's not one of those big announcements that'll really get everybody hyped. It's not one of those things. And I think that's what
I'm not saying it has to get people hyped, but you could build upon a franchise. Look, State of Decay is going to look amazing. They already said that everything in State of Decay looks graphically way more improved in the first game. And I don't mean like just the upgrade, like a visual upgrade, just a bump, like completely from the character detail to the world, to the trees, to the environments. Everything about the game is a step above, or maybe 2 steps above the first game. Even the map size is triple the size of the first game. So I'm going in expecting this game to look as good as Days Gone. That's how I'm going into it. And to be honest with you, if State of Decay doesn't look as good as Days Gone, I mean, not gameplay wise, because they're not going to play the same. You know, Days Gone seems more action orientated. You know, you have what they called again, they call not streakers, something with an F, something like freakers or something like that, whatever. And you have these virused people chasing you until they get you. That's what they're saying. And it's just a horde. It reminds me of like it reminds me of like automatically generated zombies. No matter how many you kill, they just keep appearing out of the pile and just keep coming. You know what I'm saying? And it's like a wave, like it just keeps coming at you. Every time I see it, that's what I think of. And graphically, the game looks great. It's impressive. So for me, I'm not saying it needs to play like that, whereas State of Decay is more methodical. You know, you gotta choose things a little bit more carefully. You gotta be more quiet. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you're overwhelmed, because you can get overwhelmed quickly. And then there's a big variety of zombies in the game that they've added as well. And now you're playing 4-player co-op. So you have to account for your other teammates and what they're doing and, you know, what are their skill sets and how does that all blend within this dynamic narrative. I think State of Decay could be special. The problem is the State of Decay has already released, and a lot of people are underestimating State of Decay. And this is the reason why nobody respects, I won't say nobody, Xbox fans do, but a lot of people outside of Microsoft don't respect Microsoft's lineup. Mm-hmm. I'm sure if you noticed that.
Probably. I don't know.
I mean,
a lot of it to me, don't get me wrong. I definitely agree Microsoft should be building those up, but it's like those are, to a lot of fans, secondary stuff. Because right now, the Xbox community is kind of like in this crisis mode where some people, the guys who aren't on the Scorpio bandwagon, are kind of dejected. They're getting real kind of depressed right now. Like they're talking about like, oh, it's over. Oh no, man, I can't do this anymore. Like I'm waiting. I can't wait any longer. Like people getting really upset about this, and it really is. It's frustrating to watch. Like from my perspective, because I'm just out here playing, having a good time, but at the same time, like I don't want these guys feeling dejected and stuff. Because right now they just need something to be excited for. And yeah, Ori and stuff should be enough to tide them over, but still, They need something big now.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't think these games are your rocket. It's not your big gun. I think these games are part of your arsenal, and people have to look at that arsenal like, hey, this guy's got he's got a nice little setup coming. We got to be careful. But you haven't shown the big gun yet. I think that's what Microsoft is waiting for, to show the big gun. Hey, B Money is in the building. What's going on, B? Welcome.
What's going on, fellas? Sorry I'm late, man. I'm just trying to get this money right. My kid's birthday's just coming up and whatnot. Y'all know that, but glad to be here.
Absolutely. Good to have you back on. How's the baby?
She's doing good, man. She's finally sleeping, so all is well in the world.
That's what's up. Let me get you up to speed. So we spoke about what games from the original fall releases for this year would get delayed to 2018. Did you have a game that you think might get delayed to 2018?
I thought Sea of Thieves for sure wasn't coming out to 2018.
Yeah, we're on the same point.
That's what I'm saying. We're on the same point. We're on the same page. Like you, if the writing's on the wall for this game, I'm telling you.
The scariest thing about Sea of Thieves is it's, even though it's coming from Rare and this is supposed to be like their new big project, this is almost like the same thing that was going on with Fable Legends. Like people trickle in, you know what I mean, to the alpha or the beta or whatever. They've been playing it for a while. More people trickle in, and it's just like, okay, when are we gonna get a chance to see the full game? When is everybody gonna get a chance to play it? And we still haven't had that answer yet. So, I mean, hopefully at E3 they come out and say that. But I saw something on Twitter where there may have been some information where they kind of said that the game wasn't coming out to 2018, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, I just see this game coming out in 2018. I can't see it not coming out in 2018. I mean, coming out in 2017, in my opinion, is a mistake. But that's me. I'm just a podcaster. I don't work for Microsoft. I can't make decisions. I can only tweet and DM Phil and try to pray to the gaming gods that he says, you know what, I'm gonna, which absolutely would never happen. But if it did happen, that's what I would tell him. Don't drop Sea of Thieves at the end of this year. Put it in the fall. I mean, put it in spring, not the fall. So back to what I was saying. So, me right here now, we're talking about some potential games coming out or some potential games being at E3 predictions wise. I think Ori and the Blind Forest will show up. We will see Crackdown 3 gameplay finally once and for all. Forza 7 will be a showcase title, I believe, graphically 4K 60. I think it will hit 4K 60 because that engine is so optimized for Xbox. It's like it can't hit anything but 4K 60. Now, recently, if you guys have seen, Shadow of War has been delayed 2 months. Now, this tells me two things. This tells me that Scorpio's dropping in October because Shadow of War is going to be a showcase game for Scorpio with 4K, 4K resolution. And delaying that just makes sense to make that game a launch title with Scorpio. Doesn't have to come out the same day as Scorpio, but at least the same week or the same month. So that tells me that Scorpio will be out in October. And that I think will also be on stage for them to show off. Assassin's Creed may possibly be there as well.
But you know what this means, though, right? Does this finally dispel the rumors of an August release date for Scorpio?
Yeah. I agree. There's definitely no way they would. I didn't think they were going to release it in August anyway. Like a lot of people are optimistic because they're saying that they're ahead of schedule. But this thing has always been a holiday. They've always pushed for the holiday release, a holiday console. So it just makes sense. And in my opinion, I think it's even smart. I mean, even if you're ahead of schedule, why would you want to push out a product? If you can optimize it to make it as perfect as possible and make sure everything works perfectly and there's no issues, there's no bugs, there's no problems, and then push it because you're ahead of schedule, do that. Make sure your console releases with no problems, with no issues, no hiccups. Perfect launch with a great array of titles right in the middle of the holiday season in October. You got State of Decay dropping. You have Crackdowns dropping, Shadow of War dropping, Destiny comes out later in the month. All these games will be ready for Scorpio because October and November. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out early October, actually. Maybe first week or second week of October. So that would be very interesting for that to happen. Now, Microsoft's going to be at Tokyo Game Show. I expect them to have some sort of Japanese games. I mean, what's the point of going to Tokyo Game Show if you're just not going to show any Japanese games to the Japanese people in Tokyo? I don't get that. B, before I start that, what do you think they have prediction wise? What do you think they'll have at their show?
I mean, I'm predicting that they have to have something big. Hopefully, it's a third person like adventure game or some sort of RPG. Just because Sony's had their big third person adventure game, like Nintendo had theirs with Zelda coming back earlier this year. I think it's time for Microsoft to kind of tap that pot and go after that consumer as well. And I think they have the Crackdowns of the world, they have the State of Decays, but I think they could really hit it out of the park if they had something that's more of a third person adventure, another character for us to fall in love with. Everybody knows who Master Chief is, they know who Marcus Phoenix is, but it's time to move on. It's time to throw another big mascot out there.
You know who that would be?
Especially with Scorpio coming out. You want to set that mark.
And you know who that would be? Or the perfect game for that would be?
Oh boy, here we go.
Shanghai.
Please.
Exactly.
What? Why do you always bring up these random ass games?
No, it's not random. No. But back when the Coalition was Black Tusk, that was the first thing they showed off.
That was a tech demo. They said it was a tech demo.
No, they said there was a game they were working on called Shanghai.
I understand that.
Dude,
but it was a tech demo, bro.
I don't care.
It was like the male version of Perfect Dark.
Perfect. I was so mad because when I remember whenever I've been following Black Tusk before I started YouTube. I've been following them, who they were hiring. They were picking up people from Call of Duty. They were picking up people from Need for Speed, from Splinter Cell. They were picking up people left and right from all this great stuff. I was like, wow, imagine a game like building off this kind of stuff, and imagine it could have been some Splinter Cell-esque. Right, like okay, you're driving a getaway car, scaling buildings, and doing all this great stuff, and like, oh my gosh, that's what I wanted to play so bad. And that would be the perfect game to fit in that role. Where it's a brand new franchise, brand new IP. It would have been great.
I agree. Now check this out. I got some news for you. This is going to sound weird as hell, right? Sega recently acquired. Sega's on a roll right now. I don't know if you guys have been noticing. Sega is out here buying up, studios like they're like millionaires buying a property. They recently just worked out a deal with the guys with People Could Fly, and those guys are the people who made Bulletstorm and Gears of War Judgment, as well as the awesome indie game. What's the indie game? B. The oh my god, it's on the tip of my tongue. The indie game from Chair with the dude with the suit. It's a 2D platformer, kind of like a Metroidvania style game. What?
Great, maybe. No, it's not Blow.
No. They recently remastered it and they just put it on PlayStation, which blew my mind. It was on 360 for so long.
Shadow Complex.
That game was fire, bro. I love that game on 360. By the time you get to the end of the game, dude, you basically Mega Man at that point. You got a full blown suit on, walking around with a rail gun, shooting people with one shot. Yo, it was sick. Um, so Shadow Complex, they made Shadow Complex. So they signed them. But here's the kicker. Here's the kicker, right? Microsoft, and we did this on last week's show, Microsoft has this supposedly huge partnership with Sega. Now, Sega owns Creative Assembly. Creative Assembly works on Halo Wars, and that could be, and I just want to make that clear, that could be what the huge partnership is. You know, Sega could be, you know, for some people overly exaggerated because in their opinion, Halo Wars 2 is a major deal. However, they just hired the two bosses from Lionhead Studios.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they have a new studio. Sega has the two bosses from Lionhead Studios, and now they've opened a new studio and working with Sega. And Fable's going to go Japanesey. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, I'm curious as to why Sega would pick up these people from Fable and still have this huge partnership with Microsoft. It's a very interesting dynamic. I really, really hope Microsoft and Sega work together on something special. Some people want them to get like Altered Beast or Golden Axe. I just want something new, or you know, some really cool fantasy, you know, Fantasy Star MMO or some type of really cool RPG from Sega. Working on Scalebound. If they surprised us, could you imagine if they surprised us with Scalebound and done by Sega? How huge would that be?
That'd be pretty big. That would be. But I try to imagine, like, what would it be like even? Like, would it even look recognizable?
Like, well, they said that they got the assets from Platinum.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like they would ditch, like, pretty much everything other than the concept. Like, you'd have a whole brand new character, brand new everything.
I don't have a problem with that. Listen,
that's it.
I tell you right now, most people didn't like the main character. He was too deep, bro. They didn't like the main character. Nobody liked the main character. I didn't have a problem with it, but it was kind of like that classic tale of, you know, it's a Platinum character, white hair, you know, kind of like Dante-ish type character, whatever. Then you had the techno music involved, which probably would have been a disaster on whatever music that Hideki had put in. But I was still all for the game 100% because it was an RPG and looked amazing. I loved how graphically impressive the game looked, especially for its scale. And the things that they were doing with the dragons, putting armor on them. But then I think about Panzer Dragoon. And that's not the game that I want. I don't want that game. Okay, I don't want a flight rail type game. That's not what I want. But the designs of those dragons was so epic for its time. And with these assets that you have, you could bring in a good enough team to work and build upon what you already have. But the character design, I think, would have to change. And I think the premise would have to change in some sort of way.
You know what it could
this
be?
Is just wishful thinking.
You know what it could be?
What's that?
This would be such a good use of it. Oh my gosh, this would probably be the best use of a developer ever. Guess what? Fusion Frenzy.
Jesus Christ! I just can't. I can't do it. I knew he was going to say I can't ever take Anchor seriously. I can't.
This is definitely a chance for Sega to tap that Western RPG market, though, because I mean, people forget that they own Atlas now, and you know, I mean, they just smashed it out of the park with Persona 5, and that got a lot of like great Western adoption, more than they ever had before. And I think, you know, with acquiring the two Lionhead bosses who's, you know, known for making RPGs, and Sega, you know, trying to revitalize itself, I think it'd be the perfect pair. It just depends on, you know, where they try to go with the game.
What if they brought back Otage?
Yeah.
And the style of a Dark Souls, which is something that a lot of fans, because there's a lot of Demon Souls. I mean, there's a lot of Dark Souls fans on Xbox. You know, the Surge, is another game that's doing pretty well, I think, on Xbox and PlayStation. I think Otogi could be something that Microsoft could resurrect to kind of take the place of, compete with a Bloodborne. Not saying it would compete with it. Obviously, Bloodborne is in a class by itself. It's a pretty highly rated game, but Otogi could be something special. Shinobi, a revival of Shinobi could be something special. Even though I'm so used to Ninja Gaiden being on Xbox, and not seeing that game again, I guess going the Shinobi route could make sense. Shinobi's always been a really classic Sega title, and I've always loved Shinobi playing it on the Genesis back in the day. So that's another thing that they could be working with or on. But I just want to be realistic here. I don't know if Sega will be up on that stage. It doesn't seem, at least right now, this minute, maybe Tokyo Game Show.
That sounds like a Tokyo Game Show announcement.
It sounds like a Tokyo Game Show announcement, absolutely. So I don't know if they'll do E3, but if they did,
they might have a little something. Like they might say, like, "Hey,
it would be
we'll partner up with Microsoft, bring you stuff to come. Tune in at Tokyo Game Show. We'll show you some more." Like they might even do a little teaser, but that's it.
Yeah, definitely huge. Okay, so you have Forza, you have Crackdown. Sea of Thieves is out. Ori and the Blind Forest is in. You have State of Decay 2. What does Microsoft need this holiday season to really wow the crowd? And I'm going to go by genre more than anything, because there's about 3 genres that I think Microsoft is very weak in: RPG, horror, and I would say hack and slash, because they don't have a lot of a brawler. Yeah, they don't really have a lot of those games like Rise. Rise is it's really the only game in its class, honestly, on the Xbox, that's exclusively on the Xbox, that I would say is an actual brawler. But the one thing Microsoft doesn't have a lot of this generation is they don't have a lot of first-person shooters the way they did on the 360.
Yeah.
360 was synonymous with first-person shooters. They do have shooters, but not as many as a 360. So what do you guys think genre-wise they need to really wow the crowd this E3?
Anchor, what you got, man?
See, I keep thinking about the Souls thing, but I keep thinking that's going to get played out. I think the Souls community has only so many people trying to imitate Dark Souls. You have a success every once in a while, but then you have failures. And I feel like it's a subgenre. You're just appealing to a smaller group of people. It could work, but I don't see a lot of hype for those games before they release.
Right.
Like you see it afterwards. Like, yeah, there's a very loyal fan base, and that's great. But they don't get everybody pumped like Dark Souls 3 or 2 did. I mean,
okay.
That's the only thing with that one. I just don't think that'll happen. For me, it's definitely got to be third person, and I think it's got to be an action adventure game. And it could be maybe a third person shooter, but more adventure focused than anything else.
Yeah, I'm with Anchor on there. I think it has to be a third person action adventure, or adventure / RPG game to really get people pumped up. Give me something vast, open world. It could be post-apocalyptic or cyberpunk or wherever setting you want to put it in. Just make it look beautiful and super appealing. And I think that'll wow the crowd. I think if you go with another first-person shooter, you'll get some buzz, but they kind of got that covered with Halo. They got the third-person shooter with Gears. It would be cool to have like a pretty dope like hack and slash. I know there's some rumblings about them getting like Splinter Cell, and that could be exclusive because they did have Conviction as an exclusive on a 360. So if they could pull that off, that would be huge too. A lot of people looking for that, but I think third person action game is where they really need to hit.
Yeah, and I think specifically more of like a modern day setting, or maybe slightly past, because like Microsoft in general does really just future stuff. Like, I mean, look at all the games they release. It's always set in the future or in space or something like that. They do sci-fi very heavily, like Recore, Halo, Gears. Like most of the time, it's set in the future.
Yeah,
unless
Quantum
it's a racing
Break.
game, it's set in
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But like, they need something a little more, like maybe more modern focused. And that's what I was saying. Like Shanghai would be a good game like that, where it's modern day, but you're pushing the boundary a little bit, or like very near future.
Gotcha. Like early technology type
Yeah,
stuff.
like hey, yeah, you still got guns, you still got some basic stuff. You push a little bit with like like a motorized grappling gun or something, but hey, it's doable.
I think I don't know, like the horror genre is not as big as it used to be. You know what I'm saying? Like the horror genre is not as big. The horror genre has, honestly, I'll be honest with you, indie devs have been taking over the horror genre. They've been pumping out some crazy horror games. And I know a lot of fans are getting their fix there. I think the age of, besides what's the game from Bethesda?
Prey?
No. Is it Bethesda that made that game? What am I thinking of? What company made that game? With the oh my god,
Evil Within.
Evil Within. There you go.
I was like,
yeah. There you go. Besides Evil Within, I'm getting old. I can't keep up with these games. The name of these games, I just play them. But besides Evil Within, you don't really get a lot of AAA titles. Like not even Resident Evil is as horrifying as it used to be. The new one that they pumped out first person wise, I heard was very successful. And a lot of people appreciated that, especially in VR. But overall, you're just not seeing things like Fear Effect, like back in the day, Silent Hills, games that just really would, was creepy almost. They're not doing it anymore. So I don't know if that's a viable genre that Microsoft needs. They do need a horror game, and I don't play horror games. Listen, I'm keeping it real, but for diversity, they definitely need some type of horror game to come in and maybe be an exclusive under their belt that they can push. But I would hate for that to be the new IP because I wouldn't be interested in it. But I agree. A new action adventure game or a new adventure game, in my opinion, it doesn't have to be open world, but it definitely needs to have depth.
Yes.
So much depth for the game to be successful, in my opinion. It could be linear. As long as the game has depth and long hours of gameplay, I'm all for it. I would honestly prefer something probably older than modern times. I am a big fan of anything medieval or pre-Steam. When you're dealing with swords and crossbows and spears and just brutal weapons, just cut, slash, destroy. I love those eras. So for me, a game like Fable, which would have been crazy. Did you guys happen to hear? Shout out to Red Dragon. You hear Red Dragon's show recently?
I have not.
And so on Red Dragon show, he talked about how Microsoft wasn't giving creative freedom to some developers. And, one of the developers was both Remedy and Lionhead guys. Lionhead guys wanted to do Fable 4. They wanted to make it darker. They wanted to make it more mature. And Microsoft said no. And they did the Fable Legends, MMO or whatever it is they were trying to pump out. And then the guys at Remedy, I heard, actually pitched Quantum Break, but not as Quantum Break. It was Alan Wake. And they wanted to do Alan Wake 2 with the video and the cutscenes and all that stuff like that, so they can truly tell a story like it was a novel, but in picture mode, and Microsoft told them no, they want a new IP, and that's why we got Quantum Break. So it's just funny because I think about that, and everybody's clamoring for Alan Wake, but instead we got Quantum Break, which hasn't been a success, and then you turn around and everybody wants Fable 4, and we gotta cancel the Fable Legends in return.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not blaming this team. I'm not blaming the Microsoft team for it, right? This team right now. But it just goes to show you, and I truly hope that the thinking has changed between what those guys were doing with Don Matrick and Bomber and whoever was in charge there to what Phil and Satya Nadella is doing. I truly hope Phil has a different approach in the way he's approaching the games, and I really think they're going to do that at E3. That's the reason why I'm so hyped up for it. And I'm like really excited about it. About it on Twitter. He said that, after doing the rehearsal, he was really impressed with the breadth and the quality of the show. And he used the word breadth. I'm just sitting here like
breadth.
No, not breath. Breadth. That's what he used. BREADTH. So he was really impressed with the show, and I'm like, he's using words like this show's going to be hot. Like this, if you start using the word breadth, this show is hot. It's about to be lit. Bombs are dropping. So I'm hyped, man. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see what they're going to show off. But they definitely need a big game. I'm not sure what that game is going to be though, but they definitely need a big game. Fusion Frenzy could be a possibility. Just to put it out there. What did you say? Fusion Frenzy could be a possibility, but not from any major studio. I just think it would just be some sort of reboot.
Like Studio Gobo?
No, not Studio Gobo. You know what Studio Gobo could be working on? MechAssault. It's a game that a lot of people haven't been talking about, and Phil talked about, and we could see MechAssault at E3. Is that game big enough? A rebooted or a brand new MechAssault, is that game big enough to wow the crowd and recapture the attention of Xbox fans?
I don't know if that game's big enough. I mean, it had a big following when it was released years ago. I just don't know if bringing it back would ignite that flame or not. But we'll have to see. I mean, this year would probably be like if it came back, it would probably have to release like this year, early next year. You want to, kind of capture that window. So I think this year, like last year, we were just flooded with first-person shooters. There was Battlefield, Titanfall. There was, like Call of Duty. There's so many shooters last year, and this year there's not as many. We got the two major ones. I think Call of Duty and Destiny are the two major ones releasing this holiday season. So it's not as bad as far as the competition goes. And it's a little different game in itself to where it could probably stand out. So it's a possibility. People could be hyped about that and pick it up. So I don't know.
I'm kind of. I don't think this is the right game, really. I mean, I don't know. Keep in mind, I'm part of the younger persuasion out of this panel here, but I didn't give a damn about MechAssault. I don't know anyone else who didn't give a damn about MechAssault.
MechAssault was a cool game. It's just one of those games that has a good cult following. A lot of people ask for it, like they asked for Bloodwake, Brute Force, which I hate Brute Force. Please don't ever bring Brute Force back. I hate that game so much with a passion. I don't know if MechAssault is a big enough game. Microsoft has games that they don't put out on Xbox, and it drives me mad. Mech Warrior franchise they own Robotech. Why haven't we had a new You want a Japanese game? A Japanese mech game? Why haven't we got a Robotech on Xbox? Could you imagine a Robotech on Xbox? I know some kids don't know what Robotech is. As an old head, I won't say I'm old. I'm 36. But as an old school gamer that's been gaming since like 1988, when I was like 7 or something like that, I grew up on Robotech and these old mech cartoons and stuff like that. And a game like Robotech and the franchise that it is, Microsoft owns it, and they lease this out, and they lease out MechWarrior to these PC indie studios that develop these games, and they're not coming to Xbox. Microsoft has so many franchises, it makes no sense. No one knows Microsoft has these franchises, by the way. That's the crazy thing about it. People don't know they have these franchises. They just think they only have Halo, Gears, and Forza. Microsoft has hundreds of franchises, and they're just sitting on them, which is crazy. Now, I really and truly hope that they could start to look at some of their library and start choosing better to reboot some of these older franchises because they desperately need them. So continuing on with our predictions, man, platformers. Does Microsoft show up with a platformer? And if so, what platformer?
Cuphead.
Anchor.
Releasing now.
Yeah, it has to release now. If they say anything about like, still in development or any nonsense.
If it comes out after July, it's dead.
Yeah. It's good. The best announcement for that game is here's Cuphead, and you can download it right now.
Yep. Either that or the end of the month. That's it.
I see Cuphead. I can see Cuphead. But I mean, AAA. I won't say AAA. Do we get a new Banjo, or do we get a new Conquer this fall?
Neither.
Nope.
Oh, but maybe an announcement for 2018.
I would love a new Banjo. I've been, asking for that since Phil took over, man. He kind of got us all hyped up when it was, he's talking about bringing back, Xbox games, and Banjo was one of the ones I called out, but there have been no signs of Banjo returning, besides, Rare Replay coming back out. But Banjo would be a welcome surprise if they came out and it, if it looked anything like how the new Banjo. Ratchet and Clank looked, you know what I mean, or how the new Crash looks, where you can actually see like Banjo's fur and like Kazooie's fur, or like feathers. That would be insane. You know what I mean? Give me that type of detail with Banjo Kazooie. I'll go crazy. But I don't see either one of those games coming back. Last year there's some rumblings of Battletoads coming back. Like, there's no rumblings of that anymore. Like, I don't know if they're even gonna cater to that genre at all.
Yeah, I think the only game that could ever come back would be Banjo. I mean, yes, we all want to see Conquer. Yes, we get it. But I always go back to this. I feel like Conquer was a flash in the pan kind of thing. Like, it worked for its time. It was, hey, we're in a time of E to T rated games where everyone's just like happy-go-lucky, and you had an adult-themed platformer come out. It was like, holy crap. Like, it was an entirely different thing, and it worked. But now, lots of games do this. This is not unique anymore. And I don't feel like Conquer is worth going to the hassle with. But Banjo still has life that needs to be explored.
Okay, so Banjo is the platformer that needs to release this fall.
Not
this fall. I keep saying this fall. It needs to not. Well, not so much to release this fall, but it needs to be shown. If Rare is working on something besides Sea of Thieves, it needs to be Banjo.
Yep.
Or Perfect Dark.
Absolutely Perfect Dark. Perfect Dark is supposedly supposed to be at the show. That is one of the surprises that we've heard, along with Splinter Cell, as a maybe possibly timed or marketed deal with Microsoft.
I think if we see Splinter Cell, then Perfect Dark will be held for Gamescom. I don't think you see both of those games on the same stage.
Yeah, it'll make them look like they're spread out too thin.
Ubisoft, yeah, that does make sense. Ubisoft at Gamescom with Splinter Cell, they hold off on it. You think they hold off on it?
No. We're talking about Banjo and Perfect Dark. If they're coming back,
okay, I got you.
With the Gamescom.
Gotcha. Okay.
But there's one game that I've been sitting back on. Like, I feel like this would be a cool move. Like, you brought it up with Sega, and with Creative Assembly in particular, I was thinking about it. Like, this would be the game. Like, it when it came out, it was a damn good game, and when it didn't sell great, but I feel like under the right direction, it could be great. It would be the Alien Isolation 2. Like, no
You
joke.
and this alien.
No. I'm not even bringing up the bet. It has nothing to do with it. But Alien Isolation 1 was a damn great game, and it didn't sell great, but it did okay. But like, imagine a sequel, which would be more of an Aliens
Xbox?
kind of vibe to it. But a good
did
Alien.
Xbox get the? But did Xbox get the marketing rights for the first game?
I don't even know.
I don't think they did.
I don't think anybody got the marketing rights now that I think about it.
I don't think they did.
What
I think Microsoft goes up with Splinter Cell, Perfect Dark. Okay, let's get this in perspective for 1 second. Microsoft shows up. Now, this is what we're looking at. Let's put this lineup together.
Gotcha.
Crackdown. They'll show Sea of Thieves.
Opens the show.
They need to open the show. No. Scorpio opens the show.
Yeah, Scorpio opens the show.
Scorpio opens the show. Absolutely.
No price announcement.
Scorpio opens the show. No, you got to do price announcement. They're gonna do price announcement.
Not first.
You open the show
with Scorpio. You start off the show and you say everything you see here is running on Scorpio in native 4K.
No, you got to show the hardware. You can't wait. Get it out the way.
No. You show that.
For hardware.
You preface the entire show with everything you see here is running on Scorpio, native 4K. That's it.
That's fine. But you do the hardware first, and you got to put the price out, just like they did the Xbox One S in the beginning of last year's show. Get it out the way. Get it done.
Save that to the end. That's a bombshell.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, you got to save the price for the end.
If they show the price, if they don't show the price at the beginning of the show, that console's $399, and I'm playing Alien Isolation, and that's just going to be a sad day. But if they show the price early, I think it'll be $499, just to get it out the way and show the games and why it's worth it. Yeah, $499. I agree.
Yeah.
So we'll know in the beginning of the show. Okay, so Crackdown, right? Sea of Thieves, State of Decay, Forza 7. Ori and the Blind Forest.
Well, I think we see Ori like right before you see like the little indie ID.
Yeah, indie sizzle reel.
Right.
Yeah. So I see.
I agree.
Before that. I think we see Shadow of War.
Shadow of War, Splinter Cell, possibly. If they do Banjo, they skip Perfect Dark. Possibly Cyberpunk 2077.
Maybe.
That game is not showing up at E3.
You don't think so?
No, they've been talking about when they finally reveal the game, it's going to be a surprise to everyone. It won't be at E3 or Gamescom.
Yeah, gotta make room for Bethesda.
All right.
I want
Bethesda
2077 to be there, but they said that they're not revealing it there.
They're not
going
to do it. Okay,
this
so
is the year of Gwent.
Yeah, that's true. So we replace CD Projekt Red with Bethesda, Anchor. You think Microsoft and Bethesda have a deal?
When has Bethesda not have an Xbox marketed game?
I understand that, but this is the new IP. Do they show the new IP on Microsoft stage?
Depends. I think it depends. If it has an exclusive deal with it, yeah, Microsoft stage. If it doesn't,
well, I mean,
you save it towards the end, but you have a Bethesda presence there. But you may
how big would that be?
One new AAA game, maybe one, and say see more of this at our conference.
You show up with Splinter Cell, Banjo, which I highly doubt Banjo would show up there, but let's just say Banjo, Splinter Cell, Sega, Bethesda. What do you think?
I think it's big, but I think it just depends on the games, man. I think the first four kind of soften the blow a little bit, but the tail end of the show is got to be major. You know what I mean? I think Scorpio is going to be huge for them. Price is going to be huge for them on the Scorpio, but You know, those first 4 games we've known about for a while. So for the rest of the lineup has to be just hit after hit after hit.
Have to hit. That's what I'm saying. So Sega has a new game. Let's say Sega has a new game. Bethesda has a new game, whether it's exclusive or marketing deal, that's in there. Splinter Cell possibly, based off of rumor. We've heard about Perfect Dark, which more than likely, if they did, would be at Gamescom. Then you have Banjo as a platformer, maybe a side project they've been working on the low. We already know about the first 4 or 5 games with Sea of Thieves, Crackdown, State of Decay, Forza 7, Ori and the Blind Forest. I'm trying to think of something bigger than a new Bethesda IP. The Bethesda IP is going to be multi-plat. It's not going to be exclusive. So even if it is Starfield,
will it be a multiplayer game though?
Probably no.
Probably not. I doubt it.
Knowing Bethesda, they really don't do multiplayer very well, and they don't really try. Like they're this is the first little bit where you started seeing them try is Quake Champions. Now that could be something where Quake Champions is coming to Xbox as an exclusive Xbox PC thing. That could happen.
Now that would be big. That would be nice.
That would be nice.
That'd be nice. Quake coming to Xbox. No one would talk about Lawbreakers at that point. I wouldn't even thinking about Lawbreakers if Quake came to Xbox, and that would actually be pretty nice. Quake, but I wouldn't want that to be the IP.
Nah, I think because the real question is what's Bethesda doing? Because Bethesda just moved back their conference. It was going to be at 7, now it's at 9 at night on a Sunday. That's late. That's Pacific time.
That's late. Yeah, that's real late. I'm gonna be out there. They got that amusement park gonna be popping. I'm gonna be definitely going to be trying to periscope that over on the Twitter channel and possibly the Facebook feed. I'll make sure I have enough rechargeable batteries to show off all the events and stuff like that. So that should be pretty dope.
But that particular change screams to me they're working with Microsoft. Because if I were Bethesda and I had things to show, I wouldn't have moved back my date of my time. I had it first. Like,
right.
I wouldn't be moving back my conference time unless I'm sharing some time throughout the day with Microsoft. So that doesn't make any sense. Now I feel like there's going to be some game that's going to be associated with Microsoft, and I think it could be the new Wolfenstein. Could be that one, New Colossus, which already has a pretty good following. I mean, right now, Wolfenstein's probably my game of the generation. So I'd be stoked.
Of the generation, bro. Wolfenstein was a good game, but it wasn't the generation. I like Titanfall. I like Titanfall, and I like Wolfenstein.
That was perfect.
Titanfall single player. I've been playing Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 single player is a masterpiece, in my opinion. I've never had a game that I've played with so much variety and the way you traverse a game as a shooter. Titanfall. When you get that time gauntlet on your hand and you start jumping between time, bruh, what? Titanfall might be the most underrated game of this generation. Titanfall 2, most underrated game of this generation. I don't know why this game did not sell. I don't know why people didn't pick it up, whether they didn't like the multiplayer or not, but that single player campaign, one of the best I played this generation so far. Absolutely great. Absolutely great single player campaign.
Here's a point that Gaming Addict just brought up. Xbox Fan Fest that Sunday night ends at 8:00. 1 hour before the Bethesda conference.
But that's the conference. That's interesting. That's actually really interesting.
They're working together. I mean,
they are working together.
I mean, Todd Howard was on the Scorpio video.
It does make a lot of sense because if you think about it, that gives people time to get to the Bethesda conference after they leave FanFest, especially Phil and the team.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Do you guys think they showed VR on the stage?
Will. Microsoft
I
has to
think they'll
show
show
it.
VR.
They'll show something. They'll show the new VR or whatever, the VR AR that they have. They'll show something. I really hope that's not what is the big thing.
Not the only thing.
Yeah, that's not the only thing, but that's, they did talk about that in the Scorpio reveal as well. So
yeah, I just hope it's not VR. I don't really want it to be VR. I don't want to buy another peripheral or another, system in order to play games. Nothing against VR. I think VR is really cool. I think AR is really cool and stuff like that. But until it gets to the point that it's affordable, breaking your pocket, especially the new one that Microsoft is working on that I heard is way better than on the market. Yeah, I'm not picking that up. So I would hope that they don't, not saying they don't invest in it, but they don't try to make that the centerpiece and the big bombshell of their show. I want to try to answer some questions from the fans. So let's kind of wrap up this prediction show. We've kind of gone through what we know, what we may see. There's going to be a lot of 4K games. I know there's going to be a ton of 4K games on Xbox because I've been getting emails left and right from different developers about setting up meetings to see their games in 4K on Scorpio. So that's pretty awesome, knowing that they're going to have that amount of games. And trust me, my mailbox is insane with the amount of invites I've been getting to look at these games privately and report on them and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Run down the list. Last time, we got Bethesda in there now, Sega partnership deal, Ubisoft partnership deal, whether it's Assassin's Creed or Splinter Cell. Possibly a new platformer, which is something I think they sorely need. What if Cameo shows up?
I wouldn't be mad at that.
Cameo over Cameo over Banjo, or Banjo over Cameo?
Banjo over Cameo, no doubt.
I think they could expand more with Cameo and make it a different style platformer. But I think that it would ring true to fans if Banjo came back. There's been a lot of people asking for Banjo.
Gotcha.
And I think Microsoft needs to, try to hit some of those things that people have been asking for.
Okay. So here's the show. Here's your prediction. And here's your show. We open up the show with Scorpio and a price reveal of $399. Kal-El is now officially the last son of Planet PlayStation. I have to deal with this for a month and play some
by the
Alien
way,
Isolation. What?
Oh, by the way, when we said that includes all public appearances.
What? No, we did not say that.
Planet Xbox, no, the last son to play the PlayStation.
No.
You can opt to not say it, but you can't say
it. No, you're not changing the rules.
I didn't change the bet.
No,
I didn't.
It was podcast only or Twitch or whatever it was. I'm not doing that in public. Stop.
Well, I need to pull
You can pull whatever you want. I'm not doing it in public. I will if it's $399, I will pull the last on the Planet PlayStation. But besides that, if it's not
Phil Spencer.
What? You have a recording of me and Phil Spencer? Oh gosh. Anyway, so if it's $399, opening the show, everybody goes crazy. You show Crackdown first. You got to show Crackdown. You would, you get that out the way. You show off State of Decay graphically. You show these games in 4K right off the rip. Forza 7. Then you get into a little bit of CFD's gameplay. You get into your idea Xbox program games. You show off Ori and the Blind Forest. You say Cuphead's coming out today at the event. You show off more idea Xbox program games. You get that out the way. You start showing off your 2018 lineup, or maybe you start going into your third party. They lost FIFA, by the way. They no longer have the FIFA deal. So FIFA is now part of PlayStation. hopefully they don't do nothing with EA on stage as far as Madden's concerned or something like that, unless they show up Titanfall 3, which could be something. You never know. Too early
for that.
Too early for Titanfall 3. Okay, so no Titanfall 3. Okay, so you go into maybe Sega shows up, right? They show off some new games if they have it. If they show off a game. Then we jump over to Ubisoft. Ubisoft may come up on stage, show a little bit of Splinter Cell action, right? Then you get to Bethesda, and Bethesda shows their new title, Starfield, if it's a new IP. Is that enough? Or do they need one more Megaton to really wow the crowd?
That's a pretty solid lineup, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely solid. I think, if you look at all those games, though, they all seem to be single-player games. And it doesn't lend to the games as a service. And I think we'll have one more game that will be a game as a service for Microsoft.
Games as a service. So, okay, so they get a game in, another game, and that's games as a service.
Yeah, most definitely. I think they figure out a way. They'll have Forza, and I don't know if it'll be Forza 7. They may tweak it a little bit to be something slightly different, but I think we'll have one more new IP that'll be a games as a service style game where it'll just keep on giving. Something that can make a lot of profit off of.
I mean, Phil did talk about that. I think there's a reason why he spoke about that. They may have some sort of MMO up their sleeve besides what's the name? Maybe it could be Phantasy Star. We don't know. We'll see what happens. Brand new. We have no idea. If Fable 4 shows up, is that a Megaton?
I guess so.
Yeah, it depends on.
Technically.
Yeah, it is. A lot of people have been asking for Fable. But it can't be anything goofy, It's got to be something that's got a different tone to it than the original games. And I think that'll be pretty large.
Gotcha. All right. So listen, man, they may show up some VR, some AR. I don't know what they have up their sleeve. I do know Casey Hudson, who is the writer for Knights of the Old Republic as well as the Mass Effect series, is a part of the Microsoft team. And he also was working with the HoloLens team, which is the AR team. I don't know what they're working on. I have no idea. But maybe they have something up their sleeves for AR, VR, and it's going to be impressive. We will see. I don't know if it's big enough to wow the crowd and get fans into what Xbox is doing. But based on all the comments I've been seeing from Phil Spencer and all the comments I've been seeing from Shannon Loftus, this show is supposed to be really good and very, very big on quality and variety. So I'm excited to see it. I hope everybody else is excited to see it. To end the show, guys, what is your Megaton game that you think Microsoft would need to show to drop Jaws at E3? Anchor.
UIP.
No, but a game. Pick a game. Any game. Something Microsoft associated, something huge. It could be an old IP, a new IP.
I mean, it's got to be a new IP though. Like that's the thing. Like, but it's hard to anticipate what it is.
Okay.
For me, if they drop Jade Empire 2, I lose my damn mind. Like, I'm so serious. You know what I mean? Like, EA's been saying that Jade Empire is not dead. You know what I mean? The franchise is still alive. There's potential for it to come back. If they got the rights to that, and Jade Empire 2 was alive and well and announced at E3, I'll lose my mind.
I tell you what, Jade Empire might be the one franchise that Microsoft could do because it's not owned by Disney.
Yeah.
Knights of the Old Republic is owned by Disney. This is the difficulty of Knights of the Old Republic. Consistently just tell Phil to just throw money at it. I don't care what the amount is because I'm such a Knights of the Old Republic fan. And I really want this game to, and I really want BioWare's A team on this franchise. I don't, and I played Mass Effect. I haven't gotten too deep into it yet. My homeboy told me it's a great game, so I'm going to get into it and try it out for myself once I beat Titanfall 2. But based on what I've read review-wise, what some people said, it's not the best Mass Effect in the series. So I wouldn't want that team to work on Knights of the Old Republic 3. Now, if Microsoft shows up with, let's say, Knights of the Old Republic Remastered, and then announce Knights of the Old Republic 3 holiday 2018 or spring 2018, that to me would be huge. That just would be so big. That would be huge. But I doubt that happens because, again, Disney owns Star Wars. They made a deal with EA. We dropping every Star Wars game as a multi-plat, so it probably would also end up on PlayStation as well. It's not to say that Microsoft can't sign a deal with EA for the marketing rights to Knights of the Old Republic, and if I was them, I would do it. But just saying that it wouldn't be exclusive. However, Jade Empire is a BioWare IP, an EA IP at this point, so they could easily make a Jade Empire 2 and create a new story or continue the story from the first one and build upon that franchise. And that actually is more realistic than Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
You never know.
All I need is a logo, huge. And I'd go crazy.
That'd be huge.
You ain't got to show me no gameplay or nothing. I'm showing you the logo. Good.
You know what I want Microsoft to do? I want Microsoft to contact Square, and because I love Final Fantasy VII. It's my top 5. It's in my top 5 games of all time. I would want them to make my reboot and remake my number 1 game, and that's Chrono Trigger. If you can do that to Final Fantasy VII, which Final Fantasy VII is going to take, by the time Final Fantasy VII come out, I may be 40. My son may be in like 5th grade. You know what I'm saying at that point? But I would love for them to do that same thing to Chrono Trigger. That is my favorite game of all time. It's my number 1 game. 10 different endings from the music. Listen, Chrono Trigger, if you've never played Chrono Trigger, play Chrono Trigger. It's a 16-bit RPG, but the variety in that game is so amazing. You travel through history. The cast of characters from the frog to the vampire to prehistoric times to the future with the robot. It is absolutely amazing. One of the first games I played where they actually had a motorcycle sequence in the game in an RPG. Absolutely one of the best RPGs I have played. And it still holds up as a 60-bit game. So I would love for them to reboot that franchise and Microsoft fund it or help build it or whatever it is. I'm looking at Sony and I see them with, well, even if Nintendo did it, I would buy a Switch for that. That's the one game that I would buy a Switch for. Plus, the Chrono Trigger was the return and was on Switch. I would actually return all my headsets and buy a Switch. Like I literally would buy a Switch. I would figure out a way to buy a Switch because I'm that big of a Chrono Trigger fanboy. Just love the franchise. Just love everything about the game. So it would be huge. It would be huge to me if that was to happen. But the biggest thing you could do is either KOTOR or Jade Empire, I think, from BioWare. Such big franchises back in the day on OG Xbox. Would be big. So listen, man, that's it for our show. Really appreciate everybody stopping out. I'm very grateful for all the support. We had 65 people in here watching Late Night Tick Podcast. Epic. I want to thank everybody for the thumbs up. Excuse me. I want to thank everybody for the thumbs up and all the support. We're going to go ahead and answer a few questions. We know you guys have a few questions for us over thinking about E3 and what Phil and the team is going to be doing. So we're going to close out the show for our MP3 crowd and get to answering some questions. You guys go ahead and start posting and we'll get started. So I'm your host, KORXKLL, the last on the planet Xbox. Make sure you tune in next week for another episode of Tick Network. We got Multiverse on Mondays. We have Trophy Life, our PlayStation podcast on Tuesdays, Double XP on Wednesdays, and of course, Tick Podcast on Thursdays. And of course, I will try to my best. I haven't done a Super Pod Shot in a long time. I know a lot of fans are clamoring for Super Pod Shots. I will definitely try to make a return maybe this weekend or sometime next week before I head out to E3. So that's it for our show with Anchorman V, Money 101, and we are off this planet Xbox. You guys have a great night. Peace. All right. So again, man, listen, I want to thank everybody for stopping out. Appreciate you guys hanging with us. I'm definitely down to answer a few questions. Gaming Addict asks Anchorman to pick between Comics for Life or Bethesda.
Do I own Bethesda? I need to choose here. Like, we're just playing Bethesda games, or man, that's a tough one.
Come on, Anchor.
That's real tough. Oh man, I'd probably go Bethesda on that one. So I assume that means I can't play any Bethesda games. I assume that's what it means. So I mean, but yeah, that's a hard one.
Maybe if you have to choose Comic Books for Life or Bethesda Games for Life, which one?
Bethesda games.
There you go. Simple. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
So
that's
let's see here. Leonardo S, thank you for stopping out, brother. Leonardo X, Anchorman, with the rumored new IPs from Bethesda, do you think they will steal the show at E3?
Do I think they'll steal the show? No, I know they'll steal the show. They done so the last two.
God, that was not. You can't ask Anchorman nothing about Bethesda and think you're going to get a negative answer out of that question, bro.
Nah, I mean, being honest, last year was kind of lame in terms of their show. Like, there's a lot of little stuff. There wasn't like a lot of big megaton stuff like with Fallout 4 the year before. So I mean, there was no way you could just like top that, really. I mean, Bethesda is one of those great studios and now publishers that is up and coming, really. Like, they are really pushing it out to be a big 3 publisher. They are really doing it. And like they're pumping out at least 2 games a year. And they're doing damn good. And like all the games that are released so far have been well received, sold pretty well. I mean, yeah, you can't knock them.
Yeah, I give Bethesda their props. They've definitely. I'm not a Fallout fan. I try playing Fallout. I'm an Elder Scrolls guy, but they definitely do the damn thing on a regular basis. Let's see. Liquid Arum. Shout out to Liquid Arum. Thank you for stopping in tonight, brother. Greatly appreciate your support. Does Xbox need more full exclusives? B-Money.
Does he mean Xbox only or like the play
I think anywhere? I just think he means just Xbox, probably just the brand, the console itself. Does it need more exclusives? Full exclusives, not timed.
I think it definitely needs more exclusives. I mean, they don't all have to be these big AAA games either. I think Microsoft is poorly misusing the Summer of Arcade. I think games like Banjo and some of the smaller titles, like where they can kick out like games like Battletoads and even maybe like just a small Conquer game, like a party game. That's right. Perfect, you know what I mean, for Summer Arcade, where you can kind of release those games at $20 or $30 a pop. You know, they don't have to be super in depth or anything like that. But you definitely want to add more stuff to your catalog. I think they've done that with some of the indie stuff that they have, but they also don't broadcast that either. So unless you go looking for it, it's kind of hard to find on the current dashboard. As far as like the big AAA stuff, I think you know, they kind of fall into this mantra where everybody just talks about Gears, Halo, and Forza. They've had some other good exclusives, but they just haven't hit that mark yet. And I think they just kind of keep releasing them and hopefully one will stick, and people will appreciate it, because I think Sunset Overdrive was a great game. Quantum Break was a pretty good game. Recore was solid, but it doesn't seem like any of those really stuck with the Xbox community. So,
right. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that gets lost in the conversation about Xbox not having games. I think because they weren't as huge as Halo, Gears, or Forza, people think I saw Microsoft as produced this generation when they've actually produced a ton of exclusives. A lot of even smaller exclusives, like, may not have been blowing doors off of blowing the doors off the hinges, but you think about Kalimba rated well. Matt's Curse of Brotherhood did pretty good. You had the early games like Crimson Dragon, which even though was rated terribly, was still an exclusive title. Killer Instinct. People don't even put Killer Instinct in the conversation. On Metacritic, it's like an 88 or 87 overall rated. It's one of the highest rated fighting games out there. Probably the best net code out there. It really is an impressive fighting game, and they still adding characters after 3 years since launch. Since the day it launched, they're still putting content in the game. So it goes to show you the quality of what a game like Killer Instinct, with their initial plan and building upon it and where it is today as a full-fledged title. Really impressive what they've done with that game. And I think a lot of people tend to forget that and just think about Halo, Gears, of Forza, but miss out on a lot of the other high-quality titles that they've been pumping out the last couple of years, just because they had an opening 2017 that's been pretty weak. Let's see. Philly Boy asks, what's the best way to tackle the E3 show floor? My best advice to you is, if there's any game after you see all these events that you want to play, that is the first game you go to, because you will not play that game. Listen, you will not play that game the rest of the day. If you get there early, you stand online, you get in the front, you get there early, you stand in the front. And when those doors open, you go directly to the game you want to play. If it's only one game, if it's one game you have to play, that is the game you go to. Because once you don't get online, you are done for the rest of the day. You may play 1, maybe 3 games at the most in like a 6-hour period. It's crazy. You'll play all day. Big AAA titles, forget it. So make sure you do that.
Plus, you have to remember this year, since they are opening up to the public, that's 10,000 more people that you have to compete with.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if you want to play something,
so definitely get there early. Yeah. Let's see here. Arthur Hughes. First of all, thank you, Arthur, for stopping in. Greatly appreciate you, man. Very, very grateful for the support. Arthur Hughes asks, do you think BioWare projects Dylan will be on Microsoft stage? I haven't even heard of this Project Dylan. Have you heard of Project Dylan?
Yeah, that's the game that they showed last year, that they in that weird like video montage that they put together, and they were working on a game. It's supposed to be like the Destiny killer or whatever. It's like the shared open world where you can play with your friends.
Anything BioWare, I'm buying. So
I don't know if they're going to show it this year, because they did say that they moved it out of this fiscal year. It's going into next fiscal year. It will be interesting if they do show it, because when they showed it last year, it was more of like an outdoorsy, like wooded area that they kind of showed, which it looked pretty interesting. So hopefully they do show it, but I think that it's probably got pushed back, so we may see it later in the year, or if not, until next year.
I'll have to look that one up. I probably missed that. Well, I probably saw it, but just don't remember, because it probably wasn't that big. It didn't make a lot of noise, or wasn't that big. That's interesting, though. I doubt Microsoft would have the marketing rights to it. I just think it would be a straight multi-plat. But it's possible. Maybe Microsoft is the reason why Sony was able to get Mass Effect, and maybe Microsoft is getting a marketing deal for this Project Dylan stuff. We'll see what happens. Again, a service game.
Yeah.
That may be something. Microsoft may have something up their sleeve. If you're going to work with anybody, it's definitely BioWare. future generations. You guys mentioned a big game to end the show for Microsoft. I feel Rise 2 would fill that void. The problem with Rise 2 is Rise 2 would be a great game to add to the arsenal. I don't know if it's a big enough game to just like, oh my God, wow, the crowd, because of the simple fact that there just wasn't a lot of people who were really into Rise. Like Rise didn't sell astronomically well. It kind of just came out the gate and limped its way to like 1 million sales, I think, if that. And then you got to think they gave it away for free, but very repetitive. And you're talking about Crytek, which honestly produce great visual games, but are very well known for just producing poor games with poor stories or gameplay that's been kind of bland. So I don't know if Rise 2 is the game that will wow people, but it definitely would be huge if they were to have it at the show.
What do you guys think Crytek is going to do with that Hunt game that they're showing this year? They're finally showing it off.
I haven't. I've seen gameplay of it, and I actually got invited. I'm actually set up to do an interview with them on that game, which I won't say I regret, but just based on what I've seen, I'm not really impressed with it. When I got the email about the interview, they made it sound like it was supposed to be a Monster Hunter game, like from Monster Hunter, the actual RPG.
Right.
But then when I watched the game, it's really just a monster hunting game. Like you're hunting zombies and, you know, vampires or whatever, like monsters, not actual giant, you know, dragons and lizards and creatures, one of those type of things. So it's just funny that that was in the game, but you play co-op. You have guns and you're walking around and you're shooting hordes of like monsters and stuff like that. I don't know about this one. We're just better off selling Rise to Xbox and working with them to make Rise 2, in my opinion. I don't never want to judge a book by its cover. We'll have to see more, and I'll get my hands on it, and I will definitely try to get some video up of the game up on the channel. Let's see here. Fastback. Do you think Scorpio called Xbox One X, or I think Xbox One U for Ultimate, the last best Xbox One? This Xbox One will not be the last Xbox One. They're already working on the next Xbox. I don't know right now. They've already begun working on the next Xbox after Scorpio. That's already been confirmed by Phil Spencer. I don't know when the next Xbox is coming out, but after Scorpio, there will be another Xbox, and I don't know what they're going to call it though. You can't call it Xbox One S because you have Slim, and everybody likes Ultra. Xbox One Ultra. It's pretty cool. Yeah. I don't mind that name. Yeah.
I think the Xbox One X sounds pretty dope too, namely because think about the X series as opposed to the S series. It's like, oh yeah, the X series is always the best of the generation for that.
The X series, that'd be hot. I kind of like that actually. The X series, it's not bad. Anchor.
You're gonna call it like the Xbox One X. So like when the next one comes out and they call it or just for sake of argument, Xbox 2, they call it. There's the Xbox 2 comes out, then like 3 years later, or actually 2 years later, the Xbox 2S, and then the Xbox 2X.
Right. It's funny stuff. Let's see here. Kelvin Brandon, what up, Kelvin? Thank you for stopping in, man. Really appreciate it. Anchorman, do you think Bethesda will announce Quake Champions for Xbox One and Scorpio? We don't know. I think we spoke about that already and said that it would be huge if they did. Yeah. I don't know if it would be a megaton, but
30% chance, maybe.
Yeah, because I mean, Quake 4 was on Xbox 360. That was like a launch game, so it would be sweet for Quake to return.
Yeah, it's possible.
Master Jazz 09, shout out to Master Jazz, man. Thank you, brother, for supporting us and coming into the show. Greatly appreciate it. Do you think Sunset Overdrive 2 needs to be at E3?
Not this E3, but next E3.
Yeah, I agree. The next one. Yeah, that'd be cool. Because they're gonna be on stage for Spider-Man, so yeah, that'd be fine.
I want Sunset Overdrive 2 so bad. That's the only Xbox exclusive that deserves a sequel. A true sequel. Like if you put a gun to anybody's head and they say anything other than Sunset Overdrive 2, they should pull the trigger.
Oh Jesus God! Jose Enrique, shout out to Jose. Hey man, thanks for coming in, supporting us. We greatly appreciate it. Do you think they could show Miss Walker's new game at Xbox?
I think they would hold that for possibly TGS or even Gamescom. Because have they confirmed that they're doing all 3 shows this year?
I know they said Tokyo Game Show. I'm not sure about Gamescom. I have not personally heard about Gamescom.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not going to do Gamescom, then I would guess that it would be at TGS. But it would be nice to have some, presence of Miss Walker at E3.
All right, I'm gonna start finishing up here. Let's see. Captain DNA Donut asks, did they say anything about a Jet Set Radio Future remaster? They did not. I wouldn't be surprised if something popped up, but nah, brother, nothing from Sega on that. Captain DNA Donut asks, what do you guys think about a Mad Dash Racing remake? I don't know if that's something people want. Mad Dash, you guys remember that game?
No, not at all.
Exactly. I don't remember that game at all. So I don't know if that would be something.
It would be sweet if Project Gotham came back and just throw it on the rotation.
Yeah, Project Gotham came back would be huge. That'd be nice.
So they have
let's
rotation.
see. I think that's it, man. I think that's it. That is it. So listen, guys, thank you for stopping out and hanging out with the premiere podcast for Xbox this week, once again on a Thursday night Tick podcast. We will be here every Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern time, trying to get both coasts as well as Central with our 3-man cell. We're working on a whole bunch of things, man. We're trying to improve the channel. We're trying to improve our website, ticgn.com. Make sure you go and support that. We are going to get an SSL certificate up. So if you get a warning from Windows, just go ahead and hit advance. It is a safe site. You don't have to worry about no problems. We wound up moving servers and in the process lost the SSL. So don't worry about that. We'll get that taken care of. Also, find us on iTunes. You can find us on Google Play. You can find us on pretty much any app. If you go into the Xbox App Store on your actual Xbox, you can download the Cast app. You can download there's a few Cast apps, like podcast apps, that you can download, and just look up TIC Podcast as one word, and we will pop up, and all our content will pop up, and you can check us out, as well as TIC Network. And that's a space in between that, TIC Space Network. And there you'll be able to get Multiverse, Trophy Life, and 2XP podcasts. And that's our network shows. Tick Podcast is Tick Podcast. Tick Network is the network shows. So go ahead and support us there as well. We would greatly appreciate it. If anytime you want to make a donation to us to help us improve, you can go ahead and do that as well. Donation button at the top of the screen. And we'll be working on merch for you guys all summer. That's our next set of plans. We know a lot of fans out there have been asking us for our merchandise. Guys who want to support us and buy shirts and mugs and stickers and stuff. We got a whole fleet of things lined up for you this summer. So stay tuned for that, and we will keep you guys posted. So again, I'm your host, KLWare SKLL, the last on the planet Xbox with Anchorman V and B Money 101. We greatly appreciate everybody stopping out, and I will hit you guys up next week with the Super Pod Shots as we get ready for E3 2017. Peace.